How's it going, everybody? I've got some more magic for you today with a Golgari SelfMill deck. We did get a few, let's say, negatives to this deck with the most recent set release, primarily being that we lost access to the card Overwhelming Remorse, the removal that was really good with this deck because of the different, I don't remember if it was permanents or creatures in the graveyard, but we did lose that, which is a little unfortunate. We do still have good removal, though, with things like Quag Feast. I did try Embrace Oblivion in this as well, because we don't really mind to sacrifice our early creatures. However, it felt like more often than not it was turning out to be a dead card in hand, so I went ahead and switched to Shoot the Sheriff. It is still a little bit situational because you can't hit Outlaws with it, but more often than not, it with Quag Feast is more than enough to kind of get the removal that you need, especially when our top end is such big creatures. But I will say, we didn't get any major hits to our creature base here. Fortunately, the Hulkbuster Swarm is a Bloomburrow card, so that one's still in Standard. We've also got Hollow Marauder from Outlaws, which is a really, really good card. It has card draw for you, as well as being discounted for creatures in Graveyard. Hulkbuster gets discounted whether the creatures are in Graveyard or Exile, so even if they remove your Graveyard, it's still really helpful. And then obviously the cards that came in during Final Fantasy are still really fantastic. We've still got X-Death Void Warlock, which is Neo X-Death Dimensions, and really fantastic. Has Trample built into it, gains you life when you play it, and then if it transforms, its power is equal to the number of permanent cards in your graveyard, so not even just creatures. And then as far as Diamond Weapon gets discounted by, again, those permanent cards, so your land, creatures, what have you. And is an 8/8 that prevents all combat damage that would be dealt to it. So up against a mono red deck, it basically is just a stone wall they can't get through. We did have the land situation, so we don't have a shock land for Golgari yet, which is unfortunate, but we do still have Starting Town in place of the land that you would normally take 1 damage to tap for either color. And fortunately, unlike Rakdos, we do still have access to Blooming Marsh with Golgari, so we do still have some good fast land potential. Sadly, Rakdos didn't keep that, so it's even less viable than Golgari right now. I'd say other really important cards that I think are very good for this, we have things like Molt Tender. This is really nice for making sure you can fill up your own graveyard consistently and fix mana. We're running a very low mana count in this deck because everything gets discounted so much significantly. So sometimes you do just need that extra little bit of help. You could even run a Llanowar Elf or something in place of this, but being able to mill a card and fill up your graveyard that way is even better usually in this deck. We do have Cenote Scout. Previously in position of this, I would have probably run that little 1/1 rat that mills you, but that rolled out of Standard, so I switched to Cenote Scout. You could also use the Surveil 2 little 1/1 green creature that is often used in these Golgari decks. I can't even think right now, but I don't like it because you are kind of incentivized to pull it back from your graveyard. It has that ability to where you can exile it from your graveyard and put a 1/1 counter on a creature, but if you do that, you're no longer getting the discount from having it in your graveyard, so I decided Cenote Scout was just a little bit better, especially since it can come in as a 2/2 potentially with that Explore. Let's see here. I think Esper Origins is a fantastic card that came from Final Fantasy for this set. Not only does it help you get things in your graveyard with that Surveil 2, but it has a benefit of life gain for you, which is really important, as well as having the added ability of getting that flashback creature with so much modality from the summon chapters. So Esper Origins really good, pairs really well as well with Overlord of the Balemark, because if you go Overlord of the Balemark first, you're going to get that mill, then you get Surveil with Esper and can get your setup a little bit nicer. We do still have things like Harvester of Misery as well. It has that 2-drop discard so that you can use an instant speed -2/-2, or what it's most useful for, in my opinion, is cleaning up the board when you're up against those token decks, things like that. Get this out as a 5-drop 5/4 creature with Menace, mind you, so it's very hard to block, and it basically wipes the board, or at least weakens the board significantly at the time that it enters. That goes over most of it. We do have, obviously, Herd Heirloom. Really, really fantastic card in this. Really supplements your card draw effect because Up the Beanstalk got banned. So you need some kind of card draw effect. That's why I like Herd Heirloom and Hollow Marauder so much in this deck. They both give you potential for card draw. And then the new card in this set that really made me want to try and rebuild SelfMill was the Seed Ship Broodtender. It's a 2-drop 2/3, which on its own is actually pretty good. It's not a rare. This is actually just an uncommon card. When this creature enters, you mill 3 cards, so it helps you to get things into your graveyard and discount the rest of your cards. And then it also has a late game ability of where you can pay 5 and sacrifice the creature to return a creature or spacecraft from your graveyard to the battlefield. You can only do this as a sorcery, but it's not a tap effect, so if you want to, you can attack with it first before doing this. It's really nice. The last game that I played before doing this intro, I had this out on the battlefield, used it to bring back a Harvester of Misery, blow up my opponent's token blockers, then swing in for the win with the big guys. So really good, really useful in that late game and early game, because it's such a cheap creature to begin with at 2 mana that it can help you get these discounts for your bigger things. It's really nice. I do have a sideboard here, nothing too crazy. We've got things Strategic Betrayal, a little bit of Bitter Triumph if you need more target removal. Maybe you need to get rid of a Planeswalker or something and just can't do that with the Shoot the Sheriff. You can, let's see, can you hit Destroy Chosen Permanent? Yeah, you can target Planeswalkers or even vehicles with Quag Feast, but maybe you don't have exactly the things in your graveyard that you need to be able to do so. So Bitter Triumph can help with that. We do have Terror Tide, which is a good board wipe. I will say 4 mana can sometimes be a little bit difficult to get to with this deck, because like I said, we're really light on mana in this deck intentionally, because we're all about getting our things down to like a 1 or a 2 mana cost to play them. And this deck does function absolutely fine at like a 3 mana, really, really easy. We do have Scrap Shooters, things like that, Maelstrom Pulse to get rid of enchantments from our opponents or artifacts, Keen-Eyed Curator to help get rid of opponent's graveyard as well, along with the Strategic Betrayal. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into some matches. I'll be doing what I normally do, playing for 3 wins in best of 1, just to showcase the deck as best I can. I will say this isn't like a top tier meta deck like it was previously being seen in Final Fantasy, and my reason for saying that is twofold. We have lost the Overwhelming Remorse. The mana is just not as good as it is with other color combinations right now with the new Shocklands. And then additionally, too, on top of those 2 things that I think are the main, is so many people are playing Graveyard Hate right now because of the prominence of Reanimator decks like Yuna and Arden decks, that this just gets hit in the crossfire of it. But this is still a lot of fun. I've been using this deck for the past week or so, kind of getting it tweaked to where I would like for the video, and it's pretty good. So I'll go ahead and get into the games. Hopefully you guys enjoy this. Alright, going into game 1 here. Unfortunately, our opponent looks like they're going first. Land looks fine, though. Don't really have anything that's going to lend towards making our things more discounted, but I'll go ahead and give it a try anyway. Maybe we'll get lucky on this Underground Mortuary here and start hitting the things that we need to get discounts going. More land is not really ideal for us. I do want that Hollow Marauder, though. That'll be helpful. Probably would have been better to Bennett to start getting more discounts going on our things, but I think the benefit of being able to get them to discard or start that early is going to be more helpful. Let's go ahead and play this since it'll be tapped eventually if we wait. Do have a Shoot the Sheriff to hold up. I'm not that bothered with a Ruin Lurker bat. I guess that's a good enough reason to get rid of it, though, is make sure they don't have a creature to start benefiting from.
Together, we shall win.
Okay, we did get a really good draw here with the Overlord, so let's get that impending and start seeing if we can get some discounts going in our graveyard. Interesting options here. I think the Broodtender is definitely good enough to go ahead and grab out so that we can keep getting discounts from that. Looks like we did pretty good by removing their creature. They're not really getting any benefit from all the things that they're playing right now because of that. Let's go with the Seed Ship Broodtender. I don't know how likely it is that we'll get anything else discounted enough to play with it, but if we do, that could be really helpful. Got a little bit of a discount going, but not enough to get anything down to 2 mana. or a Boroid isn't the best right here because he has no additional creatures, but he is going to be able to pump it up with the Ajani. So it is a big threat now. Fortunately, we did just draw a Quag Feast, so we'll start with getting rid of that. Now where do we want to go from here? I think Diamond Weapon's a really good choice, but I guess X-Death is already ready to flip, so we'll start there. Let's go ahead and hit a Johnny with the Siege Ship, or Brood Tender, I guess I should say, just to slow down its roll a little bit. Now, all things in our hand are very playable at this point. We could even go with Esper Origins. Okay. So got a surprising win here, in my opinion. I think that had more to do with just the overwhelming lack of creatures that our opponent had. They could have... nope, this isn't the man land, so never mind. I was going to say, they could have activated their land and tried to, like, pump it, but looks like they were just kind of out of gas and we were only just getting started. Mana turned out actually pretty fine. I think there was a really high likelihood that I was going to go with something probably like the Esper Origins next, and see if I could go with like a Diamond Weapon to go with it or something along those lines. But I can guarantee we were about to kill a Johnny and start getting in some more damage on the player at this point. Yeah, that match actually went pretty well. Ended a little bit earlier than I think it should have. The opponent just gave up really early. I still feel like they had a lot of potential gain that they could have done, but they were out of gas, and I guess they just didn't think they could sustain long enough to get it. With these, I think they probably could have. But anyway, we'll go ahead and see what we can get from a game 2. Alright guys, so let's see here. We do get to go first. We've got some interesting options whether we want to go quick or not. I think going with Molt Tender first turn is going to be most beneficial here, so I will keep this though. It's a good looking hand. Let's go ahead and get this Molt Tender going. We'll probably try to get the Brood Tender out next. Alright, go ahead and get that down with the Brood Tender. I'm going to leave this for a mill potential, I think, here. I don't even want to attack yet. We're already getting pretty close to being able to play these effectively, so that's exactly what I want. Had a couple of wins already. This is actually match like 4, I think. We had 2 like instant scoop matches, so I'm not going to be able to include those, but people are not enjoying this deck for whatever reason. They're not liking seeing it. Let's go ahead and get that mill so we can potentially discount our things even more for the next turn. Lightning Helix on our Brood Tender is actually helpful for us here. Okay, let's go ahead and get the Mortuary down, put the Harvester of Misery away. We've got some really nice and usable discounts now. I think we want to go with the Hulkbuster though, probably most. Nothing here that wouldn't remove some of our discount potential from some of our things, so that's a little sad. But we'll get rid of the Blooming Marsh because having creatures in our graveyard is a little bit more helpful. We can still get down Diamond Weapon on the next turn if we want to, so that's helpful. They're going to be looking for options to kill the Hulkbuster at this point because it is a 6/6 with Menace. It's going to be very annoying for them to get rid of if they're using burn spells instead of stuff like Get Lost. Enduring Innocence, okay. I think what we want to go with here is something along the lines of impending our Overlord. Very nice. Let's see, I think I would really like to get this Diamond Weapon back out. And then for 2, I think I want to go with Marauder. It's going to be a little bit more aggressive than the Diamond Weapon would be, but it also gives us a card draw if they don't discard something with 4 mana or greater. Very nice. Okay, so we did get that card draw. Let's go ahead and start getting some pressure in our opponents here. Obviously, if they attack with the Enduring Innocence, I'm not even going to bother to block it. Carrot Cake's pretty pointless. It will get them a card draw and a blocker, potentially. But still not anything substantial enough to where I feel like I need to hit it with a Shoot the Sheriff or anything like that. Okay, we're sitting with a couple of diamond weapons in hand here. Let's go ahead, hit another Impend here, and then I'll play out one of the diamond weapons. If they try to kill the Molt Tender, I can still tap it for mana at instant speed. Okay, getting rid of our Hollow Marauder, that's still totally fine. They do gain back just a smidge of mana, but I'm not that concerned there. This is a token-oriented deck, so there's an argument to be made for Harvester, but I think at the moment I want Hollow Marauder for more discard potential. So let's go ahead and just play that and get them to discard another card. We'll do that instead of going with Diamond Weapon for this turn. Okay. That one was 4 mana value or greater, so we got no card draw on that one. But that was a good card to no longer see in their hand, in my opinion. And if they didn't choose to block the Hulkbuster, which is surprising, I thought they would go ahead just so that they could get the life link and block the damage. We do have 3 diamond weapons in hand, so we're not really concerned about losing one. I don't think that I really care for using the mill on the Molt Tender right here either. So we're probably going to ignore that. More card draw from our opponent now because they also have the Innkeeper's Talent here, or Caretaker's Talent here, but that's okay. Got land here. I'm going to go ahead and play out the Diamond Weapon, and then I think I'm going to kill this just so they can't get the lifelink benefit from it. I wouldn't be surprised to see them actually go for the block here on the Hulkbuster, but we'll see. Looks like no. I imagine they're probably holding a board wipe or hoping for a board wipe at this point, because obviously we're not that threatened by 2 1/1s, and if we get the chance, we're going to pull that Harvester of Misery from the graveyard as soon as we can with one of these Overlords. Okay, get lost on the Diamond Weapon is fine. It's clearly they don't have a board wiper, they just would have done that instead of targeting a single creature. Two more card draws from our opponent, but I still think the Hollow Marauder was a good option early before they were drawing a lot. It's what's incentivized them to draw so much now to try and make up for it. Setting up as many blockers as they can possibly get now. Attacking in, I think I'm just fine blocking here. I know we wouldn't be able to play out something like the Harvester of Misery with that kind of a mana play, but I think we're good here. Let's go ahead and get some extra damage in on our flyer here. X-Death is pretty good. Let's go ahead and leave that on top, and then I think what I want to do is just go Diamond Weapon here for a blocker and attack in. Getting 6 damage in the air is going to be really substantial here, and they have to start throwing blockers in front of my Hulkbuster. They really need a board wipe now to stand any kind of a chance, and we're getting really close to having an Overlord back on the field. X-Death's going to be nice because it'll have trample either way also. So even if they go for a board wipe right now, they're going to have to worry about me having a trample creature on the next turn. Alright guys, we're coming back here at the end of our opponent roping us out. Looks like they decided that they just didn't want to play anymore and that they were going to be children and flip the table. But About to get an easy win here. Don't really have anything that our opponent can do in opposition. I'm just going to go ahead and attack here. Alright, and that is the end of our opponent's rope, literally. Got an easy win here. Just, I really can't advocate enough for people report these sorts of people. Like, this is just absolutely ridiculous. This was actually a pretty good match, and they just couldn't keep up. But this is our 4th consecutive win already with this deck, just since I've started recording. 2 of them I'm not going to be including because they were just too quick, people giving up pretty much right away in the matches. The first of those being someone that used Duress, saw that I had nothing but creatures in hand and what I was playing and decided to scoop. I always think it's hilarious when people do that with the Duress or the Deep Cavern Bat, and they're just like, oh, well, I can't beat what you have, I leave. I would still take that over people roping you out, because at least, like, we were having a good match, and then all of a sudden they decided to be children. But anyway, that's game 2 for the video. 4 wins already consecutively with this deck, though, so far. So we'll go ahead and see if we can get one more good match. I do apologize for the rope. There's not much I can do about that if people just don't want to play out the match and finish it, but we'll see if we can't get a good game 3. Alright, going into what is hopefully going to be a good game 3 for the video here. We have a pretty good looking opening hand here, lots of good plays, so I'll keep. We'll go ahead and start with the Molt Tender so that we can have it for helping us get discounts and mill things, you know. Okay, looking good. Let's go ahead with the Seed Ship Brood Tender here, get our graveyard filled up just a smidge. Lost a Herd Heirloom, which is too bad. I do like those quite a bit. Okay, getting a Deep Cavern Bat from our opponent. Let's see what they take. I'm not above using a Quag Feast on a Deep Cavern Bat if it means we get our Esper Origin or something like that back. Personally, I'd like to play Esper Origin on this next turn. Okay, they took the Quag Feast, which does make sense. I'm okay with that. Let's go ahead and get a card milled. Brood Tender in the graveyard doesn't make me feel bad at all. We don't need a C-Note Scout. Let's go ahead with the Esper Origin and line up these next draws. I think those are both fantastic cards, so I'm going to go ahead and take both of them. And then let's go ahead... What do we have in graveyard here? We have a Quag Feast in graveyard, so we can play out our new Molt Tender, getting rid of Quag Feast, and it won't hurt any of our card discounts going forward. Let's go ahead and attack with this Brood Tender. So now we could easily get out Esper Origins on the next turn, or even think a little bit harder about our plays if we really wanted to. Unholy Annex from our opponent, so they're going to be hurting themselves a little bit here, but I guess it's a good time for it because we don't have any huge presence on board yet. I would love to get Diamond Weapon down, and the thing is that I can. So I think I'm going to. It's going to give us a really good blocker and something that they've got to deal with almost immediately. So let's get rid of C-Note Scout. And get rid of Herd Heirloom, because we're not going to get any additional benefit out of those. Attack with the Brood Tender. Now we've got a good blocker for flying attackers and things. They're going to want to get rid of it right away. And it didn't negatively impact the discount on the Hollow Marauder or anything like that. Deep Cavern Bat's going to be able to take our Marauder here, but that's the only thing in hand, so that's fine. We're going to draw X-Death, and I think I'm probably going to play Esper Origin so I can fill up the graveyard just a bit more. Let's go ahead and just get rid of this Brood Tender here. I think that's probably fine. Not really super ideal either way, but we're looking pretty good here. I think in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and attack all. They don't have any good blocks here, and I'm pushing through quite a bit of damage, even though I'm not going to be able to block their bats now. See what I have in the graveyard. I think I'm going to get rid of both of those so that I can play the Overlord without impending it. I think that's really where I want to go with this. gaining back as much life as they can from the opponent. Okay, let's go ahead, get this land down. I want to play the Overlord without impending it. We didn't have to use the Brood Tenders, so that's pretty nice. Do I want any of these? Not really. I think I'm just going to leave that as is and attack all here. I should have held back the Esper, hopefully. Okay, so they're blocking the Diamond Weapon. I think that's totally fine. If they block Esper, oh, I really wish they wouldn't have, because I was going to have a really nice trample on the next turn. Oh, but it looks like they went ahead and died here from that, so I didn't even realize that. I'm sure they didn't either. They needed to block Diamond Weapon to survive. Esper Origin was actually going to give us, with its chapter on the next turn, +2/+2 and trample on all creatures, so we were pretty much guaranteed to win on the next turn anyway. That's why I went with what I did. But yeah, so this was actually probably the best match out of the, like, 5 that I've done so far today. Like I said, I am leaving out 2. They were just far too short, but this was a fantastic game to end off on, in my opinion. Looks like our opponent was trying to go with some aggro mono black something or other here. Just didn't keep up with the giant creatures that we were producing. But anyway, yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this. This is a pretty fun deck, and it's different. That's why I went with it, is I wanted to do something different than everything everybody else is playing right now. So hopefully it was fun for you guys. Hopefully it gets some creativity going for you. Thank you for joining me, and hopefully I will see you again in the next one.